Good morning. Today we'll be covering June 2021, paper 1 of the pandemic. So this was question number 1. This was a fairly easy paper and the grade threshold was pretty high. So we'll be starting off anyway. In question number 1, which row is correct? The correct option is option D. As I told you that the neuron is the basic functional and structural unit of the nervous system. All the dendrons convey information towards it and the axons convey information away from it. Now if we talk about the tissue, the vascular bundle contains both xylem and the phloem. The xylem vessel contains water and mineral nutrients, whereas the phloem contains sugar and amino acids. The organ is the leaf, and the leaf itself consists large amounts of chlorophyll and chloroplasts in it, and the process of photosynthesis primarily occurs over here. Now if we talk about the organ system, in organ system there are several types of organ systems such as digestive and excretory. However, the other options with digestive are incorrect, so the correct option is excretory. Now in question number 2, the we're simply talking about osmosis. Osmosis takes place from a region of high water potential to a region of low water potential. So if a beaker contains a concentrated sugar solution, it has a large higher water potential in it. So the water will flow out of it, and thus the movement of water will be out of the cells, and the volume of the tissue cells will naturally decrease since the water is flowing out of it. Now, in question number 3, we know that active transport is a process that always requires energy since it is going against the concentration gradient from a region of lower to higher concentration. Anytime you can just easily understand the comparison that if anytime you trying to challenge the status quo or going against the natural things, you have to apply energy in order to make a change or in order to make an effort or an impact. So the correct option is option number 1, and option number from lower to higher, option 5, 3B. Or which word describes an enzyme that has changed its active site? Now the correct option will be denatured, and another word if I could insert over here will be denatured, because denaturation is the permanent irreversible change in the three-dimensional structure of the enzyme, because both the enzyme and the substrates have changed their shapes. Now in question number 5, if you clearly look, you don't need to worry about, after seeing so much information, you just need to note that the more the information they provide to you in the question, the more simpler it is for you to attempt, and it's actually an easy question. So now we just have to clearly look at all three, four of our options, and we can see that the correct option will be B. Why? Because it is the only, what have they asked? They have asked which test tube shows that the rate of photosynthesis and respiration are the same. In option B, the dim light stays orange, and orange symbolizes that the atmospheric CO2 concentration remains the same. During normal physiology of the plant, there's at about 12 a.m. the rate of photosynthesis and respiration become equal, and we all know that during photosynthesis oxygen is released, whereas during respiration CO2 is released. So more so at when they're both balanced, there will be neither loss of CO2, neither gain of oxygen. Now in question number 6, what describes the upper cuticle? There is a waxy cuticle, and the primary function of it is to prevent evaporation of water from the plant. So the correct option will be D. Now in question number 7, we talk about the importance of magnesium and nitrate ions. Nitrate ions are used for the growth of the plant, whereas magnesium ions are make up the chlorophyll of the plant, so they help it to photosynthesize. So by a lack of magnesium ions, there will be a yellow color, and due to a lack of nitrate ions, there will be lack of proteins. Now in question 8, which row shows these results? We can see that the percentage of nutrient content of sugars is quite low, whereas of fats is quite high. So ethanol emulsion test will be clearly positive and it will be white. Now the proteins is also fairly high, so the Biuret test will be changed to purple color, and the sugar is very low, so it will have a yellow color. If it was to have be very high, for example, the color from yellow will change to red. The correct option will be A. Now, in question number 9, which factors may contribute to famine? And generally, if we talk, although global warming plays a large impact in facts in things such as famine, however, man-made disasters mm, contribute largely to famine, such as wars and all these hunger, all these things. So now the correct option will be that flooding increases, yes. Destruction of forests, yes. Climate change, yes. Increased. So the correct option, if I talk about, will be increased use of fertilizers, however, will not contribute, so it will be about B. Now, in question number 10, which row describes the functions of these parts? One is we need to clearly be able to identify all these parts. Three is the small intestine. Two is the gallbladder. One is the stomach. Five, sorry. Yeah, this is, yeah, the gallbladder, and this is the stomach. This is the, yeah, this is the gallbladder. So, which row describes the function of the parts? Structure one, stomach, we all know, is involved in the digestion of proteins, and the small intestine is involved in the absorption of the project products of digestion. Now, where does water evaporate? Water evaporates from the spongy mesothelial cells, and you can say a thin layer of water covering them. So the correct option would be C, and these are the intercellular spaces. After these, they diffuse out through the guard cells. Now, the functions of blood components. Plasma is involved in blood clotting. It has a lot of the clotting factors, vitamin K, and the others such as thrombin and prothrombin as well. Platelets are also however, the main function of plasma is the transport of nutrients. It also contains all these things I told you, but platelets are primarily responsible for clotting. And now white blood cells, we know that are responsible for the immunity of the body. They help to carry out the process of photosynthesis. So the correct option will be this D. Now, in question number 14, one is the left ventricle contracting. You can clearly see that the volume of blood with this is a graph which depicts the volume of blood. So when the left ventricle will contract, the volume of blood will obviously there will be sharp decrease because the left ventricle blood flow from the left ventricle will be pumped into the aorta. So out for all four of these options, where is the steepest fall? It is in option B. Now in question 5, which blood vessel contain largest and lowest concentrations of urea? After the kidneys filter the urea, because we all know that urea isn't released in the urine, so it will be in the lowest amount. So after filtration from the kidneys, which will be option number 4, it will be in lowest amount, whereas we know that the liver converts all of these proteins into urea, so it will be in highest amount in number 1. In question 15, which this statement is true for aerobic respiration? It is the predominant type of respiration in humans. And in the presence of oxygen, what happens is that glucose is broken down into smaller molecules. Now, in question 17, if they talk about a person after exercise, whenever they talk about, they were mostly referring to an athlete who has the situation of oxygen debt, in which he has to convert as rapidly as possible all of the lactic acid it develops into oxygen. So what is substance X? We can see that a person is at rest, and as soon as he starts to exercise rapidly, the concentration of lactic acid will increase, and it is responsible for the muscular pain he feels later on. So what is the result of this? He says that a person breathes more deeply and frequently during exercise. CO2 is removed more rapidly. Yes, this is the correct option. Also, oxygen will be gained more rapidly. However, it is not the option provided. Now, we clearly look at the three vessels: the renal artery, in which blood is going out, the renal vein, in which blood is flowing in, and the ureter are described. So the correct option will be C. Why? Because they state that the volume of liquid we have to tell the comparison of the volume of liquid passing through Y. The Y is the renal artery. So we all know that the arteries have greater pressure than renal vein. However, what do we need to know is that the ureter will have a far more blood flow than the Y or Z, Y or X. Now, in question number 20, what will happen if a person walks into a cold environment? all of what will happen is that a person's hair will contract and they will basically rise up. So the hair erector muscles cause the body hair to lay flat. No, they will rise up. The correct option will be, yeah, the large body muscles contract and response and relax rapidly in response to cold environment, because contracting them helps to stimulate more energy. What is the shaded part in the, this is the occipital part of the brain, and this is the cerebellum, which is involved in all the involuntary functions. What happens in the eye to produce the pupil reflex to bright light? So whenever we produce basically bright light, this what happens? The ciliary muscles contract, and the radial. There is always a dual thing. One type of muscles contract, and the other types of muscles always relax. The option would be now in question number three. Which person listed below moves their leg in response to a pinprick but does not feel it? So they obviously, whenever they say that he moves their leg in order to in response to a pinprick, so obviously his cerebral cortex is intact. However, it doesn't feel it. So the spinal cord has been severed. Z is the option. Antagonistic muscles. This is the bicep. This is triceps. Whenever the arm is straightened, the tricep contracts, whereas the biceps relaxes. They're antagonistic muscles. In question number 25, we know that smoking contains nicotine, which is a neurostimulant, and it also vasoconstricts the heart's blood vessels. It tends to increase the heart rate as well as the narrowing the arterioles and increasing the blood pressure. Thus, smoking is prohibited in people who are especially suffering from hypertension, and generally it is the main cause of lung cancer in males. In what way does this differ from a cell of fungus? The bacterium has no true cell nucleus. Yeah. Another option, if present, just for your information, that bacteria reproduce by binary fission. Now on question 27, which microorganisms are involved in the decomposition? Fungi, yeah, fungi, yes. Obviously, bacteria, yes. Viruses, no. Viruses are acellular. They don't survive with the outside the host. They only survive inside the living organism. Question 28, the energy can only be transferred to a larger organism, and the energy cannot be returned to its original source. Yes, this is correct because, for example, where the sun, we all know that in the solar system, the sun provides 100% of the energy which we use. However, 90% is dissipated in space and all, and we only use 10% of the energy. So all the energy isn't returned to its source. Now, which identifies the types of organisms in the food web? To this is we'll have to analyze that for a moment. So basically, I'll just try to describe it to you, and because it will take a little 3 to 4 minutes, and I want to complete it as soon as possible. So carnivore, but they basically eat all the herbivores, and the consumer can be anything. It can be a carnivore or a herbivore, whereas the producer will be the single, and will be always be option number four, because the producer will make all the food and energy, and it will be consumed by the herbivores and the carnivores respectively. Now on question 30, what do X, Y, and Z did? Whenever you hear the word fossil fuels or fossilization, obviously combustion will occur from here. So there's only one option which fits, it's C. In question number 31, which process would reduce the biodiversity? Banning fishing during the fish breeding season. No, this will increase the biodiversity. Stopping the release of raw sewage along fishing methods that disturb the seabed. Yeah, this will reduce the biodiversity. Now in question 32, what effect will removing the rainforest? They say that there are multiple species of trees, however, we only allow one type of tree to flourish. So obviously, due to the process of natural selection and competition, so there would be reduced biodiversity in the area. In question 33, how learn new plants produce? Plants produced by asexual reproduction, and asexual reproduction involves mitosis. Now in question number 34, what is the explanation for the results of the non-boiled bean seeds? The non-boiled bean seeds, as you can see that the areas are cleared, this means that the starch over here has been eaten by, has been consumed by them. So they contain the and contain the enzyme amylase. Also, salivary amylase is present in the human mouth at a neutral pH. It converts all the starch to maltose. Which substances are present at X in higher concentration than at Y? Yeah, so this is works Y and this is X. So we need to know that in the mother, in the blood of the mother, and the blood of the fetus, there is always diffusion going on, since the fetus needs all of the nutrients, and the blood and the mother needs all of, or receives all of the excretory or waste products. So all of the CO2 and urea will be higher in X, and it will eventually go into the fetus, into the basically the blood of the mother, where it will be easily excreted. Now, HIV is a sexually transmitted disease. It is also spread by blood products by contaminated syringes, so it can be only transmitted through blood or semen. Which sex chromosomes are in every sperm cell? Sperm cell is always a male cell, and it always contains Y chromosome. The full combination is the XY. However, the X chromosome is also present in females. Now they ask which two individuals must be heterozygous. We need to know that if a person is heterozygous, obviously the the offspring will not retain all of the same characteristics, because if he was homozygous, it would be exactly identical, because he would be autosomal dominant. Because he is heterozygous, so we need to look at the offsprings carefully and see which offsprings are different of the parent. So the correct option will be, yeah, 1 and 7, because as you can see, if a person 1 was heterozygous, his offspring is the number 6, which couldn't have been if he was homozygous. And similarly, you can see that in option number 7, or person number 7, he has two males and one female. So if he was basically homozygous, and it isn't about the gender, it is that about attached and non-attached earlobes. So he couldn't have it. Now, question number 39, which statement about natural selection can lead to better adapted species surviving? This is definitely correct. It can lead to extinction of a species. Yes, this is correct as well. Can lead to gene mutations occurring. This all three are correct. Question number 40. Yeah, we just have to tell the correct order. 3, 2. Yeah. So the correct option will be, I think it will be C, because the gene is first extracted from the human from the human pancreas. Then the gene from the human insulin is inserted into the DNA of the bacterium E. coli, and this is how mass production of insulin is obtained. I told you previously as well that in former or in past times, insulin was produced by only humans. However, this was an extremely commercial process and an expensive process. However, it was non-patented. That is why its commercial production was available. Now the human insulin, finally it is extracted and purified after taking out from the DNA, and it's grown in large fermenters in large amounts. Thank you. This wraps up our video on paper 1 2021 June. I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you.